Hey guys, Scott from FrightProps here, and today I'm going to be answering a couple of frequently asked questions about the Colorpiano light. The Colorpiano light is an RGB light, which means it can change to many different colors. You can also program many different effects directly into the light, which saves you from having to have a separate lighting controller. We've been getting a fair amount of questions about running multiple lights at once, as well as programming groups of lights at one time. So I'm going to answer those questions today. First, I'm going to go ahead and show you what comes in the box when you order the light. So this is the box that you'll receive when you order the light. Each box contains one light and a number of other components. There's a programming cable. This is just a standard stereo audio cable for programming the light. You'll get a power supply. This is a 12 volt 500 milliamp power supply. If you're planning to power more than just a couple lights, you may need to purchase a larger amperage power supply, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Each box also contains a push button trigger, which you can hook up to the light in order to trigger by hand a show that you've programmed into the light. And an adapter for the trigger input of the light. So let's talk power first. We frequently get people asking how they can power multiple Colorpiano lights from a single power supply, and it's fairly easy. As you look at the lights we have here, you'll see that each power cord has two ports on the bottom of it. One of those is for power, the other is for programming the light. As I stated earlier, if you're going to be controlling multiple lights, you may need a power supply with higher amperage. The more amperage, basically the more power is available for different units that are attached to the power supply. So for this demonstration, I'm going to be using a 12 volt 10 amp power supply, which I have plugged in off screen. So you can see here that this power supply has a male end on the barrel plug, which fits into the female end of the power supply for the light. If we plug that in, the one light will turn on and start rotating through some of the colors it can display. Now, if we want to split that so that we can go to more lights, the easiest way is just to purchase a splitter. And we have these available on our website. This is a 4-way splitter. We also have an 8-way splitter. So if you have one of these splitters, all you need to do is take the male end of your power supply, plug it into the female end of the splitter, and now you have 4 male ends that you can use to plug in many different Colorpiano lights. So that's the easiest way to plug in multiple Colorpianos to a single power supply. Of course, you could use an individual power supply for each and just use standard extension cables or power strips to plug them all in. You could also use an adapter to get to bare wires and wire directly, hardwire into 12 volt power if you wanted to. It's really up to your installation and your preferences. Alright, so all our lights are powered up. Now we're going to look at how to program multiple lights at once. It should be noted that this function is not officially supported by the light. How many lights you can program depends on the audio driver of your smart device. It's going to be variable, but it does work, and it is a nice way to quickly get at least a color program into lights if you want to have multiple lights that are all the same color in an area. So we're just going to go ahead and demo it, but it should be noted again, if you find this a little buggy or whatever, that this is not an officially supported feature of the lights. So as we split the power before, we're just going to be splitting the programming signal. So to do that, we have a Y cable here, has a male stereo end on one side and 2 females on the other. We're going to go ahead and connect the first of those to the smartphone here into the stereo jack. We have a number of them. I'm just going to go down the line using the right side of the stereo. It doesn't really matter which side, but I'm just going to be using one side. So that now gives us 3 outputs. And I have one more to plug in here, which will give us 4 stereo outputs. Now we just need to take our stereo audio cables and go from each output to one of the different lights. So we'll just go down the line, connecting each one. And And we've connected each of the lights to the smartphone. We can now hit next on the app, which gets us into the programming interface here. And you can see now that we can change the color of each light using the app. Now anything we do here on the app will be reflected across all 4 of our lights. So if we wanted to just change the color of each of the lights when they're plugged in, we'd be on our ambient show here. We would hit record and then select a color. Then hit record again. Now if we were to unplug, you'll see that all the lights are staying this orange color which we selected. So this is a quick way to change many lights to one color if you have a scene where you just want a lot of lights that are the same color. You can also program effects into the lights, but it should be noted that each light uses its own individual internal processor, so the effects will not be synchronized. So for instance, if we were going to program in a strobing effect, you'll notice that they're not all blinking exactly in unison. They're going to be a little bit off from each other. That's because each processor internally has a little bit different processing speed. But if you wanted to program something like a candle flicker effect, you will get a nice effect because they don't need to all be synchronized to each other. And you would program that just like any other ambient effect. You would just hit record, have your macro down here selected for candle, and then click the color that you would like. And you can, of course, change the speed, you can change the rate, and you can change the color as well. When you're done tapping out your sequence in real time, you can just hit the record button again. And now that ambient show will be saved in the light. If we go ahead and unplug the lights, it's gonna play the show we just recorded. Again, you can see that each light is kind of on its own timing sequence, so the timing will be a little bit variable. But again, that's a quick way to get a program into many different lights if you're using in separate areas, or to create a cool effect with lots of lights in one area. Alright, so that is a quick look at how to power a number of Colorpiano lights from a single power source, as well as program a number of lights at once from a single smart device. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment on this video or send us an email at sales@fryeprops.com. Thanks!